Oh my god. It's another update. That means I don't sleep. Let's get into it. Well, you guys, Boss Syndrome Volume 4. It's broken, isn't it? What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters Allstar video. And in today's video, we are going to be trying to break down this update at 4 a.m. as always. So yeah, you guys, let's try and get through the sleep deprivation and get through all this. But first, before we get into all of that and more, if you guys are new here to the channel and you enjoy daily King of Fighters Allstar content such as this, smash that like button and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get into the 928 update. Alright, so the first thing I would like to talk about is going to be the dice game. So as you guys can see here, this is going to be the dice board, and it's pretty much going to be standard fare for the most part as far as what we are seeing on the actual board itself. Now, we did see an image of this in the actual notes for this update, so not much new to talk about here, but what we do need to look at is obviously going to be what we get for completing rounds on this board. So as you guys can see here, you are going to have a fair bit of different rewards here that are all going to be pretty darn good. You're going to get quite a few rubies, you're going to get a purple dimensional invitation, you're going to get some gold enhancement hammers, you're going to get some gold invitations, and all sorts of little goodies in here, so this is definitely going to be worth the rounds. And if you take a look here, the first round is going to give you a new exclusive card. So as you guys can see, this is going to be the Happy 3rd Anniversary KoF AS option card, and this is going to be utilizing the card art that was picked from the winner of the art contest that was done on the official forum a little while back. And this is a pretty good little card for your gold farming. As you guys can see here, this is just going to be pretty much our standard gold farm card. It's going to give you an increase to your attack, your HP, your gold farm rate, and then of course it's going to decrease your skill cooldowns. So overall, you're going to get this card pretty much guaranteed as long as you're playing the game. So this is very nice for all of you out there who might be missing option cards for your farm team for your gold. So if you need this, this is definitely going to be useful. Everybody should be utilizing this on their gold farm team at some point once they get it. So pretty nice overall. It isn't going to be anything that you're going to use outside of a gold farm team, obviously, but good stuff nonetheless, and it definitely is going to be a card that you'll get some usefulness out of, even if it is going to be a niche use, but still very nice to see that we get a new gold farm card. It's been a little while since we've gotten a new one, and it's again definitely something that you guys are going to use. So this is going to be a very good little dice game, but the big question is, how do you get the dice? So that is going to be the next thing we talk about, as we are going to take a look at the new Nightmare Rush Dungeon event. So as you guys can see, this is going to be a 3-tier rush dungeon, and if we go ahead and go in here, you're going to see a standard rush dungeon layout. You're going to be able to get 50 rubies for your daily clear once per day for this chapter, as well as I'm assuming the SP chapter or the last chapter of this rush dungeon. And if you take a look here, you're also going to see all the different characters and cards that you can use in order to gain more of the drops. So if we take a look here, this is pretty much going to be the types of characters and cards you're going to need for this thing. There's going to be a healthy sprinkling of older characters, as well as the new Boss Syndrome characters, of course, and the new cards from the new card banner. So you'll still be able to have a couple of options in here if you don't pull for these characters or these cards, which we'll talk about more here in a little bit, but that is pretty much what you're looking at there. Now, as far as what you're going to be pulling for on the exchange shop here, you're going to pretty much see standard fare for the most part as to what you would come to normally expect for these rush dungeons in these exchange shops. You're going to see some rare enhancement hammers, which are always going to be a big get here, and then you're going to see those plus capsule mystery boxes, which are something I always go for. As far as what you want to go for here in this actual exchange shop, it's entirely up to you and what you need. My biggest things here for me are going to be the rare enhancement hammers and again those plus capsule mystery boxes. Those are the things I tend to buy on a daily basis, but if you are in need of awakening tier XP capsules and so on and so forth, you could always go for those. It always comes down to how much you want to farm and what you got here. I know these rush dungeons have been coming along quite often lately, and it is very tough on the AP for a lot of new players, so just pace yourself. We've had quite a few of these in the past, but these are going to be something that are going to pretty much be what we normally come to expect. But the reason why you would want to go ahead and farm this thing is because I believe starting in Chapter 2 and then into Chapter 3, that is when you are going to be able to get the dice drops from playing this. So of course you're going to need as many dice as possible in order to get full 20 rounds on that dice board. So of course this is going to require a lot of AP, so all of you new and beginner players out there, you may have a little bit of an issue when it comes to the AP, especially with the amount of rush dungeons we've gotten lately. But at the same time, I always say wait until the 3rd chapter opens up anyway, so you don't need to worry about burning AP right now. Wait until that final chapter opens up, and then you guys will be able to go in there and you'll be able to start farming on the dice. So good luck on that. Hopefully you guys end up getting what it is that you want. So the next thing that we're going to go ahead and talk about is we're going to talk about the boss fighter stones, because those are actually going to be over here in the event tab. So let's go ahead and check these out real quick and see what there is to talk about. So as always, whenever we get a new limited banner, we are going to have the ability to get the stones for these characters through awakening them. So basically what you'll do is you'll come in here to your event tab, and what will happen is once you get your characters up to awakening level 1, you will be able to pick a circle stone, and in this case for the new circle stones we are going to be seeing an increase to our power charge rate. So we've seen these types of stones before. This is an extremely good stone, but you guys will notice that you will not be able to see the square or the hexagon stones here. Now the way that you would get the square or the hexagons is basically you get to awakening level 2, then you're going to be able to pick a square stone, and then once you get to awakening level 3 you will be able to pick a hexagon stone, and then for awakening level 4 you are going to be able to get yourself some elite enhancement hammers, and then finally once you get your character to awakening level 5 you are going to get 1,000 rubies. So the stones this time around, for the square stone it is going to increase your crit damage percentage, and then you are also on the hexagonal stone going to increase your active skill damage. Now I have not actually gotten my hands on these stones obviously, but I am taking this third hand. However, that is what people are reporting. I don't have any photos to show you guys, but that sounds like what the stones are going to be this time around for Boss Syndrome Volume 4. So overall, those are going to be extremely good as far as the stone combinations and the effects. So very good stuff overall. We've seen this system implemented for all these limited banners, so that's what you guys can expect, and that's the only way you're going to be able to pick up these stones. So keep that in mind. If you want them, you're going to have to invest on these characters. So the next thing that I do want to talk about here is actually going to be over in the shop, and if we take a look here, we're obviously going to be getting new in-game packages for all of these new events. Now, the ones that I'm going to point out here, because I'm not going to go too in-depth into this, because these tend to be very similar to what we've seen with previous limited banners, and I feel like you guys know exactly what I feel when it comes to these. But if you guys need a real quick recommendation, of course if you're a whale and you're already spending money on the game and you're planning on going in on these characters and you're wanting to invest some actual IRL money, these are always going to be the best bang for your buck. Even after they remove the rubies from these are still going to be the best value as far as what you're going to get for the package. And then if you are going to be a dolphin, this is going to be the package for you. And then finally, if you are going to be a minnow, or you're just going to be somebody that is extremely budget, then you'd want to go with these. But you do lose a lot of value the further down you go. But those are the only 3 out of here that I would really recommend as far as this tab is concerned. However, we had mentioned in yesterday's video that there was actually going to be a new package listed in here that looked very interesting, and I'm happy to report you guys, this is the best value of everything that they just added. So basically, for those of you who are unaware, we've talked about this a million times. These 2 packages here are going to be the best value that you can get in the secret shop on a normal basis, because you do get that initial injection of rubies. In this instance, you'll get 1,200 upon purchase, and then you're going to be able to get 100 rubies every day for 28 days. This is really, really cool. This is the first time, to my knowledge, they've added a 3rd one of these into this pool, and in my opinion, these are always going to be worth it. Now, as far as this one is concerned, you are also going to be able to get Awakening Tier 1 through 5 XP capsules. You're going to be able to get a mystery box that is going to be a ×10 every single day, and then at the end of the 28 days, you're going to get a Best Fighter Memory Selector. So overall, you guys, this is the best value of all the packages they just added in. If you're planning on spending any money, or you're somebody that usually goes in on the subscription packages, this is the way to go. Highly recommend these. These are always the best options in here, and in my opinion, this is the one you would want to purchase. So that is going to be the new in-shop items. The next thing we got to talk about, you guys, is the main event itself, Boss Syndrome Volume 4. And before we talk about the actual characters, the next thing I would actually like to talk about here is going to be the cards, because the cards are going to have effects on the finishers for both characters. So I figure we'll go ahead and get through those, and then we'll have the entire picture in front of us when we talk about the characters. So the first thing I want to talk about here is going to be the new set. So this is going to be the Burning Camaraderie set. This is going to increase attack by 7% per card, and increases the damage of Boss Syndrome Fighters' active skills by 25%, with an increase to attack by 20% for 5 seconds upon a Boss Syndrome Fighter landing a blast skill on a cooldown of 10 seconds, with a PvP exclusive to decrease damage received by 85% for 3 seconds when attacked while in fear on a cooldown of 10 seconds. So this is a really good set. You're getting a lot of big buffs. I don't necessarily know that this is going to be out damaging or outpacing all the other best card sets in the game, as we've talked about at length here on the channel and you guys have seen on other channels as well as on Discords. When it comes to researching these new card sets, typically the damage parity is real, meaning that basically when it comes to these card sets, they all are going to be doing different things, but at the end of the day you end up seeing a very similar output with damage when it comes to these sets. So this one here looks like it is actually fairly good considering the amount of buffs you're getting here, and being that PvP Fear is a big CC there and extremely powerful. I could definitely see that being important, but at the end of the day, really with this card set, I would say that I would wait and see what people put together as far as actual research and damage data on this set before you heavily invest into the card banner, because cards can be very tough and a big ruby dump. But overall, I think this is a really good set, and I do see this as being a set that could definitely make some waves, but time will tell. Overall, my initial knee-jerk reactions here, which is all you're going to be getting with all of this stuff at this point, because I have not seen any data on any of the performance of any of this stuff yet. On a surface level, I do get the feeling that this is a really good set, but time will tell. But looking at it just on paper, very good. So that is going to be Burning Camaraderie. The next thing I want to talk about here is going to be the actual option card. So as you guys can see, this is going to be the new option card, Nightmare Revival. It's going to increase your attack by 5%. It's going to decrease your skill cooldowns by 1.2 seconds. And then the final effect is going to increase the attack by 13% for 5 seconds and grant super armor for 2 seconds when tagging in a Boss Syndrome fighter. So this is going to be the Boss Syndrome version of the tag-in option cards that we have gotten in the game in the past. Previously, the SS characters had a couple of options for these, but when it came to the Boss Syndrome fighters, they didn't have an option, although I think that the SS fighters just have the one option card that has this type of effect, and then we have a female fighter one, but I digress. Basically though, as you guys have seen in the past, this is going to be an extremely good type of option card for characters in modes where you're going to be tagging in and out. So if you're looking at things like such as Spider Robot, which is a big deal there, or Guild Raid, then of course these types of cards are going to be important. So overall, this is an option card I think is going to be very useful. It is an option card that you will be using in specific modes, but do remember, as it is the case with any of these types of option cards, they are going to have limited use cases, but in the use cases that you could use them in, they are going to end up being very powerful. And overall, this is another really nice option in that vein. So I think that if you feel like you need the extra help in things such as Guild Raid or Spiderbot, you'll definitely want to pick this up. But for me personally, I don't necessarily know that I'm going to be going too hard for any of these cards outside of the finishers at this point, but time will tell. If I end up seeing more data on that set, I will go for that one. But of course, this option card, we pretty much know what to expect. Really strong stuff here, so a really solid option card, and one that I would definitely say that if you have missed out on the previous ones of this ilk, I would definitely try to pick this up. Even though it is going to be used specifically for Boss Syndrome fighters, it's definitely going to be something that will yield good results for you in specific instances, and I do think that it is a card that is worth looking at. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the finishers. So the first one we're going to take a look at here is going to be for Boss Syndrome Goenitz, and it is going to increase attack by 10% and critical rate by 3.6% for 10 seconds when using it. This is a really good finisher. These are really good extra effects. That increase to your attack by 10% is huge, and you always like to see crit rate increase, so this is really, really solid. Anytime you see these types of effects on these 3PG finishers, it's really just icing on the cake, so good stuff overall. Now finally, we have B-Slasher EX, which is going to be Leona's new 3PG finisher. And as you guys can see, you are going to be getting the exact same bonuses. So you're going to increase your attack by 10% and your critical rate by 3.6% for 10 seconds when using it. So overall, both of these finishers going to have the same effects. Both of them really good. Again, anytime you have effects on your 3PG finishers, it's just icing on the cake. So good stuff overall. Of course, you're going to definitely be pulling for these if you're pulling for the characters, and those cards are going to be worth it. So overall, you guys, the card banner this time around is super solid. Everything here is pretty good. I would say that honestly, the finishers are going to be the must-have here, of course, if you're planning on pulling. If you're not planning on pulling for the characters and you're planning on going for any of this stuff, good luck on your pulls. But this stuff is definitely going to be worth it. Time will tell on the set. I would hold off and wait and see what research is done on these. Maybe we'll get lucky enough when we pull to get it, and then I can give you guys the data on it. But overall, I do think that that new set is going to be pretty darn solid. The new option card going to be really, really good for instances where you're going to tag in and out. And we've already talked at length about the finishers. So finally, we can talk about the characters. Boss Syndrome Goenitz, Boss Syndrome Leona. These two characters are freaking awesome. So let's go ahead and talk about them real quick. And we're going to go ahead and start off here with BS Goenitz. So BS Goenitz is going to be a red attack type with a leadership ability to increase red element fighters' attack by 65%. And if we take a look at the tags, he is going to be a Boss Syndrome fighter, obviously, an all-star fighter, an attack type, and a boss fighter, as well as having the Orochi clan tags. So this character is going to slot in excellently with a ton of different team comps. He is going to have an excellent leadership ability of his own, and he is in a red attack type. This is going to be a really good DPS option. Now, from what I have seen so far, and this is all circumstantial, this is all secondhand, but I figured that in the interest of giving you guys all the information possible, that I would let you guys know this. Upon researching the Korean side of the game, talking to some of my friends over here on Global that already have these characters, as well as talking to Steven about what he's hearing from the Korean side, basically the general consensus is that both of these characters might be the new damage ceiling, basically meaning that both of these characters might be able to outpace the other characters in the game currently available. So with these two characters, from what I've heard, Leona, surprisingly, is going to be the better DPS of the two, but that isn't necessarily meaning much in the negative for Goenitz, considering the fact that both of these characters might end up being the new top DPS. Time will tell, but I figured I would go ahead and report what I'm hearing from people, but that is what people are saying about what they've experienced in testing these characters, so keep that in mind. But we're going to go ahead and get into the kit. So when it comes to the kit, we're going to start with the S1. It is a blast active skill. It's going to increase the target's damage received by 28% for 7 seconds upon landing a skill, as well as applying bloodshed. So this is going to be your source of dot. He is going to be a bleed-based unit, and you are also going to be able to increase your target's damage received. So overall, a very good S1. Now on the S2, this is a grab skill, but the combination of effects here are very good. He is going to have hyper armor on here, with a 60% chance to remove the target's super or hyper armor upon landing a hit on a target with super or hyper armor, and this is an interrupt. So with this, basically, hyper armor with an interrupt has become the new standard. We see this on a ton of the top tier meta characters. He has it on his S2, which is a grab skill. Now, being that it's a grab skill, I'm not entirely sure how this is going to interact with certain bosses that you can't grab. I'm not entirely sure yet. However, I would imagine that you'll still get your hyper armor, no big deal, and that interrupt there, so it really doesn't matter in the end. But overall, really good stuff. Now, when we take a look at the S3, this is going to be that new effect that these characters have where you get that barrier shield that basically is going to be able to nullify fireballs and projectiles, as well as deal damage whenever anything is in the vicinity of it. Now, this is going to increase your attack by 35% for 7 seconds and deal additional damage equal to 20% of attack upon landing a hit on a bleeding target. Really good stuff overall. This is going to be a blast active. These skills are all very, very strong, but it doesn't stop there because on the finisher, he also can deal shock damage for 7 seconds on his core finisher. So basically what this means, and we've seen this type of mixed dot kit on characters in the past, but basically with Goenitz, what this means is he is going to be very relevant against Nightmare Geese and Lunatic difficulty. I get the feeling with the amount of multi-hits on this character, that new Barrier S3 ability, as well as having the ability to apply shock to the boss, that he is going to be able to do extremely well against Nightmare Geese. I don't know if his new 3PG can interrupt the ground aura of Nightmare Geese yet. I don't know if anybody has going to be able to know that for another week or so, but I would assume more than likely, but we don't have confirmation obviously until we get Nightmare Geese as a boss back. But overall, you guys, these skills are solid and everything here so far is phenomenal. Now the next thing we're going to take a look at here is going to be the cores, and so we're going to start from the top. We have a 30% power charge rate increase, an increase to damage by 18% upon landing a critical hit. We have a general increase to our attack, an increase to our 15% bleed attack damage, so basically we get continuous damage enhanced when the character is bleeding. We have an increase to our overall blast active skills, and then we also have an increase to our crit rate. Now on the exclusive cores, we have a 50% chance to apply fear to the attacker for 2 seconds when attacked on a cooldown of 20 seconds, an increase to our active skill damage on bleeding targets by 80%, and a 70% chance to reset the active skill cooldowns upon landing a hit on shocked targets on a cooldown of 18 seconds. So his reset is there, but it is on a core. Basically, it has a 70% chance to reset your active skills whenever you land a hit after using your core finisher, basically. So that is where his reset's going to come in. He has a 50% chance to fear, which is extremely important in PvP. And overall, that increase to your active skill damage upon landing an attack on a bleeding target by 80% is going to mean that your attack and your damage, rather, is going to stack immensely. So overall, you guys, very good stuff. And then if we take a look, we have the final core that casts that shield that absorbs damage for 7 seconds when using it, active skill, and removes the shield when attacked 20 times on a cooldown of 15 seconds. And then finally, the exclusive core for both of these characters, they are going to gain 1.4% power every 0.4 seconds when guarding, with a PvP exclusive to gain super armor for 2 seconds when their accumulated attack received reaches 5 times on a cooldown of 20 seconds. So he does have a save in there, and overall, this character is looking very, very solid. That shield is extremely broken in this game right now, and overall, you guys, all of this stuff combines to make for an amazing kit. This character, super, super good. Love what they did with him. I'm very happy with what I'm seeing here. I had theorized and hoped that he would be a mixed dot kit with bleed and shock, and here we are. So I got what I wanted out of my character. Now, big thing is, he doesn't have that shock on an active skill or a core effect or anything like that. It is on his finisher, but again, as we've seen with a lot of these characters in the past, it doesn't really matter. You can still shred shield like crazy and be able to take down those guild raid bosses with ease, even with a dot being locked to a finisher. And with this character's amount of multi-hits and damage output, I get the feeling that these guild raid bosses aren't going to know what hit them whenever you take them in there. Great stuff. They did your boy right. All of you GoeNutz fans out there, be happy. Now, next character we're going to talk about is going to be Boss Syndrome Leona, and this character is, from what I've seen, from what I'm hearing, absolutely stupid. But let's go ahead and talk about the kit. So Boss Syndrome Leona is going to be a purple defensive type with a leadership ability to increase Boss Syndrome fighters' attack by 45% and their power charge rate by 20%. She's also going to boast tags with Boss Syndrome Female Fighter Defensive Type Allstar, Ikari Team, and Orochi Clan, so she is going to fit into a plethora of different teams. That leadership ability is Chef's Kiss. It is phenomenal. We all know about how good this type of leadership ability is, and overall, extremely strong stuff there. Now, she is going to be a defensive type, but as we have learned with SS Honoka, that means very little in this game anymore, because defensive types at this point can just as well do damage as an attack type, and in some cases, do better damage, and that sounds like it is what is going to be the case with Leona here. Now, she is a purple defense, so not necessarily a lot of things call for that, but at the end of the day, beggars can't be choosers. Really, it just matters what the kit looks like, and thankfully her kit is very good. So if we start off here with the S1, this is going to be a strike active. It is going to give you hyper armor with a 70% chance to remove the target's super or hyper armor, and this is an interrupt. So again, we have hyper armor with an interrupt. This one is on the S1, whereas Goenitz has it on the S2. Good stuff. You look for this on all of your meta characters at this point. Again, it has become the standard, so great to see it. Now, we're going to take a look at the S2, another strike active. This is going to increase the target's damage received by 27% for 8 seconds upon landing a skill, and applies Infernal Flame. So this is going to be where she gets her dot. She is a burn-based unit. We have a ton of burn units in the game. However, if she does end up being able to outpace them on damage, then at the end of the day, she might be the only burn character that you need, and a lot of the top burn characters out there are going to be gone right now because a lot of them were limited banner characters or collaboration characters. So if you are in need of a burn-based unit, chances are Leona is going to be a character you want to take a pretty hefty look at. Now, moving on to the S3, this is going to be a blast active, and this is going to be her barrier effect. Basically, this is going to increase attack by 55% of defense for 7 seconds when using a skill, and deals additional damage equal to 50% of attack upon landing it on a burning target, and she applies fear to an enemy for 3 seconds upon landing a skill, guard included. So she does have fear. This is particularly important for things such as championship. She's going to be able to deal additional damage, and she's going to increase her attack by a whopping 55% of her defense. So the defense to attack conversion is there in a big way. This character looking extremely strong on overall damage output. And then finally, on her core finisher, which is a strike, she deals burn damage equal to 4 times the remaining burn damage and removes burn when attacking a burning enemy. So this has explosion. Typically, you don't like to see explosion, but she got a bone thrown to her in the capacity that her explosion is going to be on a finisher, so you can go ahead and just work around that extremely easily. Great stuff. This kit looks phenomenal. I'm very happy with what I'm seeing here. Both of these characters look great. Now, on to the cores. We have that 30% power charge rate increase. We have an increase to our damage by 18% upon landing a critical hit. We have an increase to our attack. We have 15% burn attack damage increase, an 8% strike skill attack damage increase. We have a 3.2% critical rate increase, and then we get into the exclusives. So the exclusives on Leona are going to be as follows. She increases the target's damage received by 35% for 5 seconds upon landing Grand Saber EX on a cooldown of 15 seconds. She decreases the active skill cooldowns by 0.5 seconds upon landing an attack on a burning target, and increases active skill damage on a burning target by 110%. Yeah, this character does a lot of damage. Overall, you guys, of course, being able to lower your cooldowns whenever you use your basics or your active skills is always going to be good. And in this case, she decreases her active skill cooldowns upon 0.5 seconds upon landing an attack on a burning target. So this is great stuff. We've seen this on other characters. This is going to mean that she's going to basically have infinite skills in a lot of instances, and you love to see it. Overall, again, this is a character that is just wanting to do a lot of damage. And then when it comes to her second exclusive core here, she casts a shield that absorbs damage for 7 seconds when attacked if her HP is 50% or more, and removes the shield when attacked 20 times on a cooldown of 15 seconds. And of course, we know the exclusive core for both of these characters. We just talked about it with Goenitz, so we don't need to reiterate it. It's really good, so not much to talk about there. So the shield there, of course, we see that again on Leona here. We've started to see this become more and more of a standard on meta characters. That shield, on top of the fact that it is going to protect you from damage, is extremely good because it changes the gravity of your character, makes them heavier, meaning they are harder to juggle. This is an extremely good core. all of the stuff I'm seeing with this character looks really, really good. And in general, the only real knock against her is she is just another burn character, but she isn't just another burn character in the capacity that she is probably going to be able to outpace the damage on most of them. So time will tell how strong both of these characters are. My recommendation to you guys on this banner is, if these are favorites, if these are characters you've waited for a very long time, always pull for favorites. But if you're a meta chaser, you're going to be hard pressed to find a better banner than this as far as bang for your buck, because both of these characters are looking tier 1 as they could possibly be. These are going to be uber tier characters, so you're safe either way. And when it comes to anything else in this update, yes, we do have the ability to combine up to 3 boss syndrome memories for 1 generic memory. That's something else that was added in here we didn't talk too much about. I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds, but you can find it over in the same spot you would find your dimension exchange. And honestly, not much to say. We've seen that in the past with the SS characters, and then they did update the Topaz shop. They updated the selector tickets for the fighters and the cards, as well as added in a selector option for the imprint stone boxes. But that's all just kind of aside stuff we don't need to get too deep into the weeds with. But anyway, you guys, biggest takeaway here is, unfortunately, we did not get a generic BS memory. I'm very upset about this myself, especially since both of these characters are extremely good. But you guys know me, I've said this before, I try to keep my own personal opinions out of some of this stuff when it comes to these news roundup videos, because we can do that in an op-ed and an opinion-based video later on, and then that way I can kind of keep that sequestered to its own little area. But I am not very happy about that, and we'll talk about it probably Saturday. But anyway, you guys, that is going to be today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure that you guys out there smash that like button and subscribe for more daily King of Fighters All-Star content. Good luck to all you guys and gals out there if you pull. Peace.
Continue.